Hello and welcome to LA Currents. I'm Anita Bennett. Well, election season is right around the corner, and this year, age is a key factor among voters. So how old is too old to run, or is it even ageist to ask? Joining us to discuss the issue is longtime Los Angeles activist and writer, Earl Ofari Hutchinson. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So you've written a book about this issue. It is called, Is Biden Really Too Old? The Politics of Age and Ageism in America. What prompted you to write this?
Well, actually, the subtitle kind of tips it. The politics, not just the age and ageism, the politics of age and ageism. Never have I ever seen age become an issue.
Oh.
Why all of a sudden now age? So now we come to Joe Biden. What do we hear over and over and over? One of the major political hit points against him by Trump, the GOP, and critics, and a wide body of the general public. The guy's too old. The guy has cognitive decline. He's not fit to be the commander-in-chief. I mean, that's been a strong point they've been pounding him on. Then you've got conservative bloggers, conservative media. That's been out there and been put out there in the general public. Every poll I have seen, this is one of the things that really caught my attention and said, you know what, I think there's a book here. Every poll and survey I've seen has shown one thing across the board, almost uniformly. The majority of those of any age group, including many senior citizens, say there should be a cutoff in terms of age when someone can hold a political office.
How do you determine that?
You can't. It's like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder.
And it's not just the presidential contenders. It's also, we ran into this issue with Senator Dianne Feinstein before she passed away.
Right.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I mean, and now there's even talk about Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor that she has some health problems and maybe she should step down. And then there was Mitch McConnell. So it's a big issue in Washington.
Well, and that's why I say it's developed a life of its own. And my guess is as we go forward, it's going to be more and more of an issue. So, for example, there's not a day that goes by when you don't see watchers looking at Biden and reporting, we caught him where he stumbled.
Yeah.
So you're going to see all of that, and it's just buried in people's mind. The guy's too old. He's not going to be able to make, critical decisions, foreign policy decisions, life and death decisions. Is that true? Of course it's not true. The founding fathers in the Constitution, remember, they only put age on one thing, the presidency, 35. There's no age on anything else anywhere in the Constitution.
Let's talk a little bit about, you've written a lot of books on race in Los Angeles. What are you hearing in the community since we had that racist recording involving some city council members? What's the status of race in LA right now?
It's a good question. Because some might say it's always changing. Some others might say it looks the same to me. Well, when you really look at LA, it's a polyglot city. I mean, you got everybody from everywhere under the sun that has come to the city. You got every kind of community under the sun here. By that I mean every ethnicity,
yes, every
nationality, every country grouping is in LA. So right away, it's not a melting pot in the sense of everybody's blending together, but I think it is such a diverse community, wide community, big city, big communities, diversity. That leads to two things. One, the potential for problems, conflict, misunderstanding, which is conflict. And the second thing is a big challenge for political officials, public officials, both local, well, especially local, statewide, but especially local. I've always felt that you need to have a broader board of supervisors and a broader city council to deal with all of the different ethnicities, neighborhoods, nationalities. In other words, expanded.
Define broader. More?
More. You need more. Think about it. You got one supervisor that represents an area which is almost as big in some places as many countries, millions of people. So I think, you need to have more of a diverse representation. I think you need to rethink the political process, how it is, because it's been in place so long, it's been frozen. One of the areas that you know has been somewhat problematic when you talk about race in LA, Black, African American, and Hispanic. And before that, African American and Asian American, more specifically Korean. I haven't really seen the flashpoints that we had a few years ago, you know, between these communities. And I tell people when this question comes up, when you go to a lot of communities like South LA, you know, it's Black and Hispanic, but now predominantly Hispanic. You got people who live side by side. They go to school, they go to the markets, they go to the parks. So you're not finding people constantly in conflict with each other. And by the way, that's a good thing. Yeah, you got gang activity. Yeah, you have some violence. Yeah, you have hate crimes, but you're gonna have that anyway. But I don't just see the city being overwhelmed with that. So what I'm trying to say is I'm always trying to spin it in a positive light.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is the state of race in LA is pretty good.
I think at this point in time, given the nature of this city, it's about as good or the best that we can hope for. Can there be improvement? Of course. It takes a lot of hard work. There are a lot of community organizations that believe in multiculturalism, that believe in cooperation across the lines. There are a lot of individuals that do that. There are a lot of faith groups in LA that do that. And some elected officials, you know, have been working. All the elected officials all say we got to work together. Some more than others in terms of actually in the trenches and doing that and making that happen. But I think the trends are a good trend going forward. As long as people forget one thing, it's easier to work together than work against.
Oh, that's well said. Easier to work together than work against. We are almost out of time, but I need to ask about the key issue in Los Angeles, homelessness.
Oh.
What are you hearing in the community? Are people noticing improvements? Because that's been a key factor, a key issue with Mayor Bass.
Right. Well, yeah, and it would have to be. You can't be the mayor of this city or an elected official and be an ostrich with your head in the sand. That's got to be the number one issue. Why? Number one, LA is a homelessness capital of the United States. Some might even say almost the world, but definitely we'll keep it here. So that's number one. Secondly, you got to grapple with the problem because it's a quality of life problem. Across the board, it affects everything and affects everybody. You know, my big concern is this. There's been a lot of money, as we know, that's been poured into trying to solve the homeless issue / problem. And as you know, there have been concerns about how effective the spending is when we're seeing even more homelessness on the streets than ever. So I think that's a major challenge for public officials. If you're going to ask the public to be generous with the purse strings, spend money, make sure it's allocated properly and make sure it's being spent effectively.
What else are people saying? Are they saying, I'm seeing more, it's getting worse?
Everybody's saying that. Everybody's saying, you know, it's a terrible thing. Well, partly that and partly because it's been there so long. You know, it's almost like I can walk down the street and see 10,000 encampments and I don't even notice it. Out of sight, out of mind.
Well, the Olympics are coming to LA in a few years, and do you think, put on your crystal ball, do you think that we will see more progress before then?
I think we will. I think we will, partly because, remember, you always want, when the Olympics come to a city, any city, you clean it up. You want to make it a showpiece. You have to do that because the whole world is coming here. So you always want to put your best face forward. No one wants to look ugly to the world. And it's Los Angeles. You know, it has a reputation. So I think in part a lot of money will be spent, a lot of cleanup will be spent, a lot of outreach will be spent, a lot of public relations will be done to show the world how great a city LA is. Some of it is puff, some of it is nonsense, but some of it is reality.
All right, well, Earl Ofari Hutchinson, political analyst, author, and activist, thank you so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
All right. And that is going to do it for this edition of LA Currents. I'm Anita Bennett. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.